The house owner sat back on his couch, his eyes fixed on the screen in disbelief. Once again, his door camera footage showed another package flung carelessly onto his porch. No knock, no announcement. Just a hurried delivery tossed without a second thought. He sighed, his frustration mounting. This wasn't the first time. Damaged boxes, dented items, and careless handling had become a pattern. Over and over again, he had received packages in terrible condition, and every time he checked the footage, it was the same: indifference, disregard, and sometimes even outright negligence. Curious, he scrolled through older recordings. There, another delivery driver tossed a package onto his porch without stopping. Another time, a different driver brushed past his car, leaving a visible scratch on the side before driving away without a second glance. His irritation deepened. Why were they treating his deliveries and his property with such carelessness? Why were they taking out their frustrations on him? He had never been rude or unkind to any of them. He was just an ordinary customer, expecting the basic courtesy of a properly handled package. His anger boiled. Enough was enough. He considered filing a complaint, calling the delivery companies, or even confronting one of the drivers the next time it happened. But then, he took a deep breath. Would that really solve the problem? Would yelling or demanding better service actually change anything? As he sat in silence, a different idea formed in his mind: an experiment. Instead of reacting with frustration, he decided to try something else, something unexpected. The next day, he set up a small table on his porch. On it, he placed a cooler filled with cold drinks and a selection of snacks. A handwritten note sat beside them, its message simple but sincere: "I know you're having a rough day. Take a break. Refresh yourself." It wasn't much, but it was a gesture of goodwill, an attempt to change the dynamic in a way that words and complaints never could. That afternoon, he sat back on his couch once again, watching the door cam footage, in anticipation. As expected, another delivery driver arrived. Just like the others before him, he walked up quickly, ready to toss the package and move on. But then, he hesitated. His eyes landed on the small setup of drinks and snacks. He read the note, his expression shifting from indifference to something softer. For a moment, he stood still, as if debating whether to accept the offer. Then he reached for a bottle of water, cracked it open, and took a long sip. He let out a slow breath, as if releasing a weight he had been carrying all day. What happened next surprised the house owner. The delivery driver didn't just take a drink and leave. Instead, he glanced around the front yard, noticing the scattered leaves and the general messiness of the space. Without being asked, he bent down, picked up some fallen leaves, and tidied the area around the porch. It wasn't a grand gesture, just a small act of consideration, but it was something. And then, when he finally placed the package down, he did so carefully with both hands, ensuring it rested safely on the porch before walking away. The house owner sat back, stunned. He had expected the driver to ignore the setup entirely, or maybe take a drink out of convenience. He hadn't expected this. A simple offering of kindness had changed the driver's behavior in an instant. And as he replayed the footage, he realized something profound. Sometimes, people aren't careless because they want to be. Sometimes they're just tired, overworked, and unappreciated. Maybe the delivery drivers weren't acting out of malice, but out of sheer exhaustion. Maybe their frustration wasn't personal. Maybe they just needed someone to remind them that they mattered too. Over the next few days, he continued his experiment. More delivery drivers came and went. Some ignored the setup, but many took a drink, a snack, or simply paused for a moment to breathe. And slowly, he noticed a shift. His packages were handled with more care. There were no more reckless tosses, no more rushed drops. Instead, the drivers placed them down gently, almost respectfully. One even left a small thank you note in return. The house owner realized something important that day. Anger, while justified, wasn't always the answer. Sometimes, the most powerful way to teach a lesson wasn't through confrontation, but through kindness. A small gesture had created a ripple effect, proving that compassion could break cycles of frustration and neglect. As he reflected on the experience, he smiled to himself. Kindness wasn't just about being nice, it was about changing perspectives, about reminding people that they were seen, valued, and appreciated. And sometimes, that was all it took to turn things around. If you believe kindness can be a miracle, drop a heart.